What's up, guys? It's Jim with OPTCG, bringing you guys another locals video this week. And this time around, you guys gave me quite the difficult leader to pilot, but honestly a fun one nonetheless. That is going to be Foxy himself, the GOAT of the Davy back fights. This leader, honestly, I was not looking forward to playing. I love purple. Purple's possibly, I would say it is my favorite color. But Foxy as a leader just wasn't really fun to me because his leader effect is just a little frustrating to use. Basically for the reason being that every good deck right now has pretty good removal. Whether it's Lucci with multi-board removal, Law with bottom decking every turn, Bonnie with resting your characters and getting free attacks into them. Whatever you can think of. Every good deck has removal, right? The thing with this leader is you need 3 Foxy Pirates on board. And if you don't know, most Foxy Pirates are like 3 or less cost for the most part. So those are very, very easy to remove cards, which means the ability for you to leave 3 Foxy Pirates on board to activate your leader effect is pretty much completely reliant on if your opponent wants you to. Obviously, there's ways to play around it, play the cards you need to play the turn you want to play them and then use leader effect, right? Because, then your opponent can remove them after, but you already got the leader effect off. But the point is, you need to see what you need to see in this deck a lot of the time. I think there's a few cards that are pretty necessary to find to actually win games. But when you do see what you need to see, this leader's a lot of fun. So with that being said, let's get into the deck list. So if you don't know, I pretty much one-for-one copied the guy who got top 64. I think it was in Australia, I could be wrong. But there was a Foxy player who got top 64 recently, and I pretty much copied that list with a few of my own tweaks. But congrats to him, and thank you for giving me a baseline to make this leader. But first up here, we've got the most necessary card to find in this deck. That is going to be Porsche. Porsche is your 3-cost searcher that is going to not only search you out more Foxy Pirates, but give you very, very quick board flood to get Foxy going. If you do not find this card, it is a lot harder to activate your leader effect, because not only do you need to play 2 separate cards out of hand now without a search, you need to play these Foxy Pirates out with, however much Dawn you need to play it. If you're playing a 3 and a 2, that's 5 Dawn. Whatever else, right? Porsche can play, a 3-cost and another 3-cost for 3 Dawn on your 3 Dawn turn, right? So this is a card that we honestly really need to find. I'm pretty much mulliganing for it every game. I'm no Foxy expert, so maybe I'm doing that wrong, but this card definitely felt very, very necessary for me to find in order to get my game plan going. But after having gone over Porsche, let's go over the entire Foxy Pirates package that this leader makes you run. Next up, we have Tony Chopper when he was taken by the Foxy Pirates during the Davy back fight arc. This card is really good. It's just a 2-cost blocker that is going to ramp you 1 when you're at 1 less Dawn. So say we played Porsche on our 3 Dawn turn. Since we Dawn -1 for her on play, playing Chopper will get that Dawn right back, which is really nice as we develop a blocker and another Foxy Pirate body to allow us to get closer to using our leader effect. Not much to say there other than that, but we have probably our best target in the early game off of Porsche, or just to play raw if you don't see your Porsche, it is going to be Ito Mizu. So this card is pretty much Onigashima / Galley Law Company stage on a character. So it's just going to be get arrested Dawn every turn for a 3 Dawn card, right? Same exact thing. Only thing with this guy, you don't have to rest him. So he can just stay on board if your opponent does not have removal. Unfortunately, most of the good decks do. He's just going to stay there forever, and you're going to be able to ramp yourself up every turn because obviously you are not attacking with a 0 power unit unless you really have to. But a really solid card. Only downside, if you don't know, you cannot have 2 of the 2 Ito Mizus on board or they will not work. So with that being said, let's get into the next card here. We have Pickles. Pickles is a pretty much needed card in the Lucci matchup, as Lucci, 1- from leader and stage, and now a 4-cost Lucci can basically, KO 2 things very easily. Pickles allows it so you can protect your entire board other than Pickles, so if they want to KO stuff, they need to get through him first. Just makes it a lot easier against that matchup in particular. For that reason, you really do need 4. Also, not a bad target off Porsche because now we have one of our only low-cost bodies that can actually swing into leader. Next up here, we have Capote, is another 3/4. This one, though, is really interesting. It's another Dom -1, so it makes us go a lot of Dom minus if we're playing it off of a Porsche, but the effect is really strong. It is just going to be to make one of your opponent's characters not be able to attack on the next turn. That costs 6 or less, not any character. So pretty much pseudo removal, right? We're not removing it from the board, but we are basically nullifying whether it had a when attacking effect or it was a decently sized body. Like if your opponent has a 6/8 boa, I actually did that today. That's probably one of the best targets for this card. Locking down an AK for 3 Dawn is pretty insane. And just another card to swarm board with for leader effect. So not bad, and a good addition at 3. Next up here, we have our searchable 2K and our only searchable 2K. It is Gina. Gina is a 2K counter. Don't really play her on the board too much, mainly for the 2K. However, if I do need an extra card for my leader effect, I would play this out because she does allow you to get that Dawn right back. However, that is only an on-play effect, so you will not be doing that again. And then from that point on, she'll just kind of be sitting there as a Foxy Pirate on your board for you to use your leader effect. So not terrible, but definitely a necessary searchable card. Next up here, we have 2 of Big Bun. So Big Bun is another card similar to Porsche that can swarm board. This one, though, can only play out another Foxy Pirate type card when you are at equal or less Dawn than your opponent. So if we're playing against decks like RP Law, who are always staying pretty low in Dawn, this card's dead. I played against an RP Law this week, and I had one of these in my hand, and I was like, God, this card's so bad right now. But against every other deck, it's pretty easy to get off and allows you to get big swarms, right? You can do a Big Bun into Porsche into another card, and then all of a sudden, your leader effect's instantly online. So pretty solid. Only weird thing with this card is it says you can play a 4 or less Foxy Pirate. I'm very curious why they would do that when they didn't print anything above 3, as you can see. These are really your only targets. So maybe we're getting a 4-cost Foxy Pirate in the future to get maximum value from this card. But for now, it is stuck playing 3 costs. So next up here, I'm going to say the best card in the deck, and rightfully so. As our leader is Foxy, our best card in the deck is going to be the 7-cost Foxy. This guy's a menace, I'm not going to lie. 7/7 body, which is obviously not great. However, he does give you another guy on board that can ramp every single turn that you want. So if you have him and Itomizu, you are now turning your Dom -3 from leader into only a Dom -1, as well as having the ability to -1,000 power to every single one of your opponent's characters on their board. Very, very strong. This card's really annoying to deal with. He does not affect leader. So there are a few turns where your opponent's like, okay, I'm just going to attach most of my Dawn to leader and kind of make this guy's ability not do a whole lot. But he's really annoying to deal with and really annoying to remove, especially for blue decks, as they can hit that 6-cost stat line. But once you get to 7-cost or above, it's really annoying. So they're going to need to start red rocking you, or if they run a Mihawk, maybe they can do it with that. But I think a lot of blue players don't really run the Mihawks anymore. So, really great card, and definitely the card, if I already have a target to play off Porsche, that I'm probably searching out. Next up here, our last searchable Foxy Pirate card is going to be 3 of Slow Beam Sword. This card is pretty cracked, I'm not going to lie. For 2 Dawn, you're getting 2k power for the battle, and you're also resting any character on your opponent's board that you want, right? Which means your opponent's already playing with limited characters on board because you're ideally locking one down with leader effect. So even if they have 2 more characters on board, only one of those is getting to attack now that you have this card. you know, God forbid your opponent decide to attack with leader first, because now you're just resting their big thing on board that they did not decide to attack with right away. This card's really cracked, and definitely a card that if your opponent's not ready for it, can really, really ruin their turns. Next up here, though, let's just get into our 2Ks. So we have 2 of Miss Doublefinger. This is a flex slot. This is really just a 2K. I don't think it matters. Like, you can play Kamazo in this spot. You can play, what's her name? Khalifa, the Galileo Company Khalifa 2K that allows you to draw to trash 1. I think it's really up to preference, but I'm only really using this as a 2K anyway, so I don't really think it matters. Next up, though, a 2K that we do play sometimes is going to be the new Sanji. This card is, at this point, basically a 4 of in every purple deck. Really, really good, especially when we go Turbo Dom Minus with Leader. You can now play out this card for 3. Playing a 3/6 blocker is really good. Who would have guessed? But other than that, yeah, just the 2K. Next up here, though, definitely something I wouldn't have run if I didn't see it in that top 64 Foxy list. It is going to be 4 of Reiju. So in this leader, we need to play a lot of cards out of hand, right? All these are so low cost, and you need to spam them on board to do leader effect, which means you're running out of cards pretty quickly in hand, and you need to replenish those. So who's more perfect than replenishing cards in hand than Reiju? And the fact that you are pretty much always going to be less down than your opponent if you have activated leader effect, makes this card really, really strong and able to kind of rejuice yourself back in the late game. It did not come up today, actually, one time. I didn't really draw it. The only game I drew it was in the RP Law game, and again, against RP Law, this card's just kind of dead. He's going to always out Dom minus you, so unfortunate there, but a great card that I think is a staple out of 4 of, for sure. Next up here, we have 4 of Eustace Captain Kid Blocker. So this deck has a lot of Dom minuses. Obviously, your leader has it built in. So I think Eustace Captain Kid is a no-brainer. This is one that I changed from the top 64 list. They were running, I think, something else that got you Dom back. But I think Kid is just a lot better, especially considering the only other blocker we have is Chopper. So if we're in a situation where we are dead next turn, if we don't have a blocker, Kid can definitely come in handy. And then follow it up with a leader effect, and you get 1 back active. Maybe we only had 6 Dawn, which allows us to play this and leave 2 up for Slow Beam Sword, right? So pretty solid card, and I think a really, really good card in this deck that I'd be surprised if nobody was running. Next up here, our only large character is going to be 3 of 9-cost Kaido. So this card is pretty cool in this deck because there's a lot of times where we'll have a board state of like a Foxy, an Ito Mimizu, and a 5-drop Captain Kid, right? So we can play this card on 10 Dawn, go Dawn -5, so we're at 5 Dawn, and then we get 1, 2, 3 back, so we're right back at 8. Pretty fun card in this deck, and pretty funny card in this deck, because you can kind of just completely negate that Dawn -5 and get right back to 10 next turn. Obviously, unless you wanted to do another Foxy leader effect after the fact, which would be putting you back a lot. But even then, you'd still be at 7 Dawn on the next turn. But really good card and pretty necessary because, you know, as you can see, the majority of this deck is pretty low to the ground. So we kind of need some big stuff to compete with our opponent. So really, really good card. Just don't draw too much of them like I did today. And last but not least, some much needed removal for cards like 8-drop Captain Kid. We have 1 of Ragnarok. So Ragnarok, as I said, really just for the certain 8-drops that we cannot really deal with in this deck. Another card that I kind of just ripped from that top 64 list. It didn't come up today, and I think it would only really come up against Bonnie. I don't think I love this card. If I were to play this deck again, I would probably remove it for something else. But you know, I could see its merit. But with that being said, guys, that's going to be the deck list. Sorry, not the most enthusiastic deck list. I just, you know, not one of my favorite decks. You guys definitely put me on a deck that I was not looking forward to play, but we ended up going 2-1, and I ended up having a lot of fun. So let's go ahead and get right into those games. And getting into game 1 here, we're going to be going against a green and black Perona. putting him on first, so that is going to be good for us. However, I really don't think this is going to be a good matchup. I'm not the biggest Foxy expert, but you know, I can see that resting characters for free and getting free attacks into them would be a problem for Foxy, who needs to keep characters on board. So this is going to be a rough one. Our opponent fortunately whiffed his Momonosuke there and passes back to us with 2 characters on board. So we're just going to go 6 at the Momonosuke, as we know we are only spending 3 Dawn this turn, playing out that Porsche. And looking at the top 5, we're going to grab the Big Bun. Looks like that is the only target we actually had. And then from there, we are going to think about what to play from hand, because I'm kind of just realizing that whatever I play is going to get rested into an attack into it. So I'm just going to play the Ito Mimizu to at least get an active Dawn here. So he is going to do that, and yep, just rest it, go 6k into lead. Going to play the Ryuma to pop it. No reason to even attack into it with the Otama if you're just going to pop it anyway. And now for us, on a 6 Dawn here, we do have the Big Bun. However, we are actually at more Dawn than our opponent, so the Big Bun would not work, unfortunately. So we're going to choose to just go 6k to leader, as he gives us a 2k, followed by a 5k and a Eustace Captain Kidd 5-drop blocker, who is going to be really good in these future turns if I decide to use some Dawn minus effects. Opponent now on 7 Dawn, fortunately not on any Morias or Sabo turns here. Looks like he is going to choose to go 6k at Porsche. We will choose to give him a 2k right now. Do not want to block with Kidd, since he can kind of just do stuff like this. Rest him for free now after he is at a 0 cost. He'll go 7 to Porsche, and with his remaining 4, KO that Kidd with another Ryuma. So pretty rough here for us. We are at 8 Dawn now. Board completely removed, and really in a rough spot to actually remove his. So gonna debate what to do here. We do have the Foxy in hand. Looks like we actually have 3 Foxys in hand. So I think we're definitely going to play one of those and then possibly swing 6 to lead. I don't know if it's smart to swing into Ryuma to allow him to replay it off of Moria or something like that. So there is the Foxy going to ramp us 1 to 9 Dawn, and we will just go 6k at lead. Fortunately, going to take that one, so I can kind of assume he at least is bricked up in hand, which is going to give us an out here and a possibility to win if he cannot remove this Foxy. However, if he does have another Ice Age, I don't think it's looking good, so he will go 7k lead. We will choose to take, finally getting a 2k in hand. He will follow that up with a... Oh, sorry, I think that was only 6k. Yeah, and he's going to follow it up with another swing here. We're going to counter out of that and take the other one into the Borsalino. And now on 10 Dawn. So Foxy actually putting in work there. I even forgot myself that he minuses power to all the characters on board. So really solid there. We're going to play the Porsche. Looking at the top 5 and probably grabbing that 2k, since I do not think we have one in hand at the moment. And then going to go ahead and play out either the Ito Mimizu or the Chopper. That looks like our only targets right now. And if we did play out the Chopper, it would actually ramp us 1, since we were at the same Dawn as our opponent. But we are going to choose to do the Ito Mimizu and ramp it this way. And from here, we actually have 3 Foxy Pirates on board, which means we can actually use leader effects. So we're going to go ahead and go 8k, I think, at leader here. That is going to be a take from our opponent, further showing us that he really does not have that much Dawn. So we're going to, or that much counter in hand. We're going to use a 7-drop Foxy effect to get an active Dawn, swing 9, and he is going to block that. So just trying to put our opponent in a position where if you don't have a blocker this turn, or you cannot win this turn, we are going to win this game. So he's just going to rest Ito Mimizu, attack it with Otama, and I'm like, oh, Otama's at negative 1k actually, so that doesn't work. Foxy putting in work there. Doesn't really matter though, because he's just going to do a Meppo into a Sabo, which means that is our entire board. And unless we have a rush card right now, which we could have a rush Kaido swinging 6 and 10, but realistically with his amount of cards in hand, I don't really think 6k is ever getting through. Yeah, as he gives us a 2k for the 5k swing, the 6k would not have worked. So we are just going to play the 7-drop Foxy, minusing the power of his characters on board and leaving 2 Dawn up for the 2-drop event here, as it is pretty much our only chance of surviving. However, if he does have a blocker this turn, it is looking pretty bad, especially a Borsalino. I think he only runs Borsalino and Sabo, so Kaido will not be able to KO either of those characters, unfortunately. He'll go 9 to lead. We will take the chance to use the slow beam into a 2k, as Sabo is only an 8k right now, thanks to Foxy. making it easier to counter out here. However, that was the only 2K he has in hand, so if he starts swinging 6Ks, this is going to be a little rough. He's going to go ahead and go 5K lead. We'll give him a 1K and another 5K to lead. We're actually just going to take. If he put all on Helmeppo there, that was going to be the game, but he's actually going to play it safe here. Rest Meppo and Otama, and play out that Moria, most likely, yeah, replaying the Borsellino. And he doesn't really need to play anything else if he doesn't want to, but looks like he's actually going to want to put the Ryuma in trash, which is completely understandable. Playing out a body with a Borsellino. So now at this point, Rush Kaido does not win it for us. Neither does attacking with these two characters, so we're in a really rough spot. And I don't really know if there's a way out, unfortunately. We're definitely going to need to use leader effect, if nothing else. So we're going to definitely drop the big bun here into the Porsche. Porsche going to search top 5. We're really looking for that event, and we do find it. So there is, light in the dark right now. There is a chance we can win this game if our opponent plays a certain way. Getting that Dawn right back with Foxy, we will choose to go 6K into Ryuma, I presume. Locking his Sabo and his leader. He's going to give us a 2K counter. We'll go another 7K into Ryuma. If he does not have a 2K right now, he's going to actually have to give this to us. But he decides to give us the Borsellino, wanting the bigger stat line to swing next turn, which is completely understandable. And at this point, although I do have 3 Dawn up, I think you always just want to go all on Moria. 18K to lead, and I don't really think with the amount of cards in hand you could ever win at this point. I'd have to have like a Blast Breath or something like that, but realistically don't think I have that. So he's going to think about it here. Wanting to go 9 and then follow the rest up, but he's, I tell him how many cards I have in hand, and yeah, he's just going to go for game, and that is it. And getting into game 2 here, we're going to be going against an RP Law, who I think, at least in my testing, is a really rough matchup, as we do run the Reijus, which in this matchup are pretty much never online, because RP Law will almost always be at less Dawn than you, which means you cannot draw off those. Your big buns do not play anything because you're always at more Dawn than your opponent. So really annoying matchup. Also, not to mention, your characters on board that you need to keep for leader effect are very, very easy to get rid of. So we're going to see what our opponent does here. We fortunately get the Ito Mimizu ramping us on 3 Dawn. So forcing him to bottom deck at this point is pretty good, especially if he does not have any cards like Shachi Penguin or like a Bon Clay that can not ramp him, right? So if he only has like Reijus and stuff in hand, this is not going to be a great turn for him, but looks like he does have the Bon Clay, and he is going to rip leader effect and drop a Beppo, which means he just kind of went neg 1 there, which is not too bad for him. So we will choose to take the 6K swing, as we going to go 6 to leader here. He is going to choose to take that, as we drop the useless Captain Kid, which if he does have a Gordon is going to be another easy bottom deck, unfortunately. That's the thing with RP Law. This deck is just way too strong. Obviously in this format, it is not at the heights it can get to, but for a deck like Foxy, it's just really hard to deal with. So he's actually going to drop Reiju right now since we are at even Dawn, and he's going to draw 2 from that. And from here, probably if he had a Gordon, going to use that to bottom deck the Kid. So he's going to swing with Bon Clay most likely before he minuses the power. He will actually choose to attach it to Beppo, which is really good for us, ramping him 1. And now with no Dawn up, if he swung with leader, we have a free block with Kid, which is exactly what we're going to do. And then from there, looks like he is not going to choose leader effect, which is probably the right play to do here. So now on 7 Dawn for us right now. Looks like we do not have a Foxy in hand, unfortunately, which would be pretty good against this matchup. We do have the Big Bun, but as I said before, it is a little rough because Big Bun's effect only goes off if you are at equal or less Dawn than your opponent, which in this matchup is unfortunately almost never going to happen. So thinking about what the play is to do here, we are going to just choose to flood board. We're going to go E2 Mimizu into a Chopper with no effect, unfortunately, and another Chopper. So now getting 3 Foxy Pirates on board, we can start using our leader effect, which we are going to do. We will go 5K into the Bon Clay, locking down the Beppo and leader with leader effect. And then Kid going to get us 1 Dawn back active as well, which is really nice. So really good for us here. And just completely flooding board, right? So obviously these things are really easy to get rid of. They're all 0 power, which doesn't do anything. But at least it makes our opponent have to deal with them, right? Which is the only good part in this situation. Opponent thinking about whether he wants to counter out of a 5-1. Yeah, he is not going to do that. Looks like he had a lot of 2Ks in hand, though, so he probably could have. And with the rest of the Dawn here, we're going to go 8K to leader since we really do not have anything else to do with it. He is going to choose to take that one. Now, passing to him, his leader and his Beppo do not become active, so Beppo is not going to be ramping him any Dawn anytime soon, which is very nice for us. However, if he does have something like a Gordon, this kid's going to be really easy to attack into. I think that would be my play if I had a Gordon. Put kid down to 3K and then start attacking into him, and then you bottom deck one of my other characters, taking leader effect offline and really screwing me over here because I only have 4 cards in hand. Playing those 3 out of hand kind of really screwed me, which is why you kind of need Reiju in this deck. But like I said before, opponent is never going to let me get a Reiju off because I just can't go that Dawn minus a lot of the time. So he's going to play a Queen, keep up with cards in hand. Reiju into Queen is going to always ensure RP Law is like never running out of cards, which is one of the great things about this deck. You got like stuff like Miss All Sunday too. So he's going to trash the Sanji. We did see that he already had a bunch of 2Ks in hand, so he definitely didn't need it. And yeah, there is the Raise Max, going to put the kid down to 3K here. If I was him, I would probably swing into it with the Reiju first, see if I would counter out. And looking at my hand, I can't even counter out if I wanted to. But he may also go the aggro route. Yeah, he's just going to bottom deck kid and then choose to swing at leader. I don't blame him for doing that, but I think the safer play would have probably just been to swing into it and take my leader effect offline for the next turn, as you do not want me doing that. So we are going to take that 7K swing and now passing back to us. And it looks like our hand is not amazing, but it is definitely playable. So we are going to do our best to do that, right? Probably going to play the kid this turn, and I assume into the 3 cost. We could play the Kaido right now, but I think we'd go 2 Dawn minus, which would not be good for us. So going to play the kid into 6K at Reiju. He's actually just going to give that to us with a lot of cards in hand, which is pretty interesting. Kid is going to go ahead. Oh, no, we did leader effect. Again, kid's going to go ahead and get that Dawn back as active, locking his Beppo and his leader. Now going to spend a 3 of that Dawn on a, I think it's Capone or something like that. I don't really remember this guy's name. Apologize. Capote, I think. And we're actually going to lock down that Sanji, I think, so he cannot attack, which is pretty solid, right? Because now, if he wants to attack, he has to. His only attacker on board is Queen. His leader's locked, his Beppo's locked, and Queen is the only thing that can actually turn sideways and put some pressure on us, which is really good for us because we do not have any 2Ks in hand. We do have a few blockers, but we do not want him bottom decking our stuff. One more Foxy Pirate and taking leader effect offline. We want as much leader effect as we can possibly get. So opponent is on 6 Dawn right now. Best plays probably going to be like, yeah, Gordon into a kid or something like that. So he is going to do that Gordon most likely on our kid blocker. And then thinking about what to do with the remaining 5 Dawn here. Best play, yeah, is going to be a Queen, not a kid. But keeping up the Dawn, or keeping up the cards in hand is really good. However, unless you have like a Shachi Penguin right now, you are going to go down 4 Dawn for the turn, which is not a great look. Because now I really won't have to be too scared in the coming turns because he will have no Dawn active to actually attack with. So he's going to follow it up with leader effect. Is it a Shachi Penguin after he bottom decks the kid? If it is not, you are only at 4 Dawn next turn. It is a Shachi Penguin, so not a bad spot for our opponent. Still on 6 Dawn next turn and a completely full board. Only light in the darkness here is we do have 2 blockers still, and we have a board full of Foxy Pirates. Oh, looked like we actually locked down Queen. Apologies. So Queen could not attack. Sanji could. Got that a bit mixed up, but it really didn't make a difference. They're both 6K bodies. That can both be popped with Kaido, so not a huge deal. We're going to ramp with the Ito Mimizu, and it's looking like our only play at this point in time is the 9-drop Kaido. We do have the Reiju, but as I said, Law's only at 4 Dawn. It's really hard to get there unless we go super neg with like a leader effect plus a Kaido effect, which we might do this turn. So going to drop the Kaido, specifically the one that has an alt art. So going to use Kaido effect, popping the Queen blocker here, and then most likely going to follow it up with some swings into board. question is, do we use leader effect? So we're gonna go 10k at the Sanji. He is just gonna give that to us, which I think is always the right answer. And then follow this up with possibly leader effect. Yeah, we're gonna actually swing at leader, minusing 3 and locking Beppo and leader once again. He does have a free block with the queen here, so honestly I probably should have done this first, but he's actually still gonna counter out and gonna go ahead and pass to us. Or I think he took, apologies. Probably looking for like a kid and killer or something like that, because I don't think you should ever take there if you don't have to. Unless he did not see a way for him to win this next turn with only 2 bodies on board, because he is in a little bit of a rough spot right now, especially with this Kaido on board. However, I am only going to 4 Dawn next turn, so I don't think he has to be too scared. Kaido Blaze leader effect is finally putting us in this range where we can play a Reiju or a Big Bun, you know, whatever we want. Obviously can't play Big Buns, we're not going to be at 6 Dawn next turn, but you know what I mean. So on 6 Dawn now, best plays here, honestly, probably some sort of blocker, maybe like a Miss All Sunday. You want to keep your cards up in hand while kind of going a bit defensive, or could also go a little bit aggro, as I only have 1 blocker and 4 cards in hand. So if we played something like a Kin and Killer on board and bottom deck my blocker, it would be a bit scary. But looks like he is going to go the defensive route, playing the 3 Dom for Tony Chopper, going 7 at lead, which you will definitely choose to take. Wanting to leave the Chopper on board just to maintain our leader effect action, although I don't know if I'd ever use leader effect when I have 4 Dawn left. So now on opponent, he does have 1 Dawn open for a Gordon or something like that, although that would only bottom deck our Capote. I don't know if we were swinging with it anyway. Only plus side is it does take away our leader effect, if we wanted to use it. So opponent definitely thinking this one through, and he is going to slap the Gordon down on the Capote. Is he going to follow this up with leader effect? It looks like he does. Going to go down a lot of Dawn here, down to 3 Dawn, which means he will be at 5 Dawn on the next turn. However, he does drop the Reiju and maintaining that hand, but I'm letting him know I'm only at 2 Dawn. You have 3, so that actually does not work. So I say, you know, you just put those 2 right back at the top. It's no biggie. You were going to draw them anyway. So a little bit of a misplay there from our opponent, and definitely going to give us a chance to squeak out this match. Opponent now at 3 Dawn once again, however, so, you know, again, Reiju, not online. Really rough for us, so we're going to choose not to play anything and use leader effect. We're just going to go 6k at Chachi Penguin, followed by a 10k at leader, and he's actually going to block that. Might have been a Beppo, I'm not sure, but we're going to choose to go 3 for a Capote, lock down the Beppo so he cannot attack once again. This poor Beppo has been getting screwed this entire game and has not been able to get off his win attacking effect. Most likely the reason why most people have chose to cut him from the deck. Just a lot better options nowadays. With stuff like Miss All Sunday and stuff like that. It's going to get you immediate value. Obviously, Beppo does get you that immediate value, but the main thing about the card is the win attacking effect that you can repeat getting Dawn back. So opponent only at 5 Dawn, and we do have a blocker. If you do have a Kid and Killer here, I'm in a bit of a scary spot, not gonna lie. So he's gonna drop 4. That is only gonna be a Bon Clay, which is one of the probably least scary things right now. Although I am gonna need to finish him off next turn, because that is now a 10k attacker if I leave it on the board. So he's gonna bottom deck our blocker as I assumed he would with leader effect and play out the Kid and Killer. Very terrifying turn, as he does have multiple attackers now. He'll go 6k lead. We'll choose to rip the 2k from hand. Another 6k to leader. We know we need to block this, because if we did not get a counter from life, which we didn't, that Kid and Killer would have killed us. So pretty solid for us there. And now at this point, looking at my hand, I know I need to go for game. So thinking about what my best swings are, as I really can't do much. You know, the Reiju's not drawing me anything, so we will go 7k to lead. If he cannot counter out of this, he's going to need to take and then beat an 8k from leader and a 10k from Kaido. He does have 1 blocker up, and he is going to take that one, so going to follow it up with the 8k. Does he have the counter? If he does not, this is going to be the game, as we have a 10k following suit. Thinking about it here, he is going to block and the 10k to lead. That is going to be the game. And getting into our final match here, going to be going against Boa Hancock herself, which I think of our matchups today is probably the best one we've seen. Does have a few cards that can multi-clear boards, but the best one being 7 cost Gravity Blade, which, you know, if you want to get rid of 2 of my 3 costs with that, it's really not too big of a deal. So, gonna get the Sengoku on 2 Dawn. We are going first, which I think is the better curve for us here, and we're gonna play the Ito Mimizu, ramping to 4 and passing to our opponent. So, Boa does have a Jinbei here. You know, if you do have a Jinbei, that is definitely your best play. However, looking at the hand, it's not looking like they have it. So going to 3,000 Worlds, the Ito Mimizu, drawing 1. Not a card you see a lot in Boa, as we do take the 5k swing into our leader. And now on 6 Dawn, looking like we only really have Kid to play. So we're just going to go 6k lead. Opponent is going to choose to take as we followed up with that 5-drop Kid. Fortunately, Ito Mimizu taking the heat off of our Kid here. So if he does not have another 3,000 Worlds, you cannot remove this Kid right now on 6 Dawn. Best thing you could do is possibly do a Boa Hancock, but looks like it's going to be a 3-cost Don Quixote del Flamingo. Pretty solid, setting up these future turns for him. Looks like he did put the Boa on top there, probably wanting to play it on his 8 Dawn turn next turn, and he's going to go 2 5s here, so we'll block the first one and take the second one. So maybe shouldn't have took that. Obviously, this deck does run Pudding, but I think I wanted to keep enough Foxy Pirates in hand to play on this next turn, so I kind of greeted here knowing I'm going to throw a lot of cards out of hand. But let's go ahead and see what I do, because I think Foxy is also just a play on this turn. So we'll go 6k at leader, checking him for 2ks, and he's going to choose the block. I'll do another 6k, and he takes. I'm almost positive that means he has no 2ks in hand, so I'm going to kind of act like it for the rest of this game, as we do play the Foxy down, making this Sengoku, you know, even more useless than it already was. But now on 8 Dawn, your best play, you can't even Gravity Blade a Foxy, so it's really like only Boa Hancock lock down my Foxy, and then, yeah, so he is going to do that, and then probably bottom deck the Sengoku. Oh, he does not have 5 cards in hand, so I don't think he should have bottom decked it there. Maybe thought you have to bottom deck something if there is a target. So that is what I'm assuming. However, yeah, I think you should never bottom deck the Sengoku if you don't have to. So we'll go 6k lead, again, checking the hand for 2ks, and there it is, double 1k. Opponent revealing he does not have a 2k as we drop down the Porsche, grabbing another Foxy into our hands here, which is exactly what we wanted, because we're going to drop that down next turn most likely, as we do the Capote and lock down Boa Hancock from attacking next turn. So only giving him leader to attack with, as we do have a pretty solid board here. We could use leader effect and lock the leader down as well, but there's really no reason. So we're just going to go ahead and go 6k at leader. He does give us that as we drop 7 for Foxy. Yeah, so really solid turn there. Porsche into Capote into a Foxy is a pretty criminal turn. Completely flooding this board right now, and double Foxy is going to be extremely hard to deal with. We did see him get the Mihawk a bit earlier in the game, but he's actually going to choose not to play it. Do the 3,000 Worlds this turn, bottom decking Kid, and probably using the rest of the Dawn to either play something like a blocker, or maybe possibly even swing into leader. So he's going to go 5. This could be another Boa Hancock, which it's going to be a Red Rock, getting rid of the Foxy, which is not a bad play at all. Getting rid of 2 scary bodies on our board right now. However, we still do have 3 Foxy Pirates, so our leader effect is online if we want to use it. So we will go 5 and 5. He will give us 2 cards out of hand. As we go another 5, he's going to take, and another 7 he is going to take as well, as we are dropping the 9-drop Kaido here, popping that Boa, and then going another 10 to leader, as he is forced to take down to 0. With this board at this moment, there's really no coming back from this. This was a pretty good showing, even though I did not use leader effect 1 time yet this game. So I really don't know if there's coming back from this, right? You can drop a blocker and possibly remove another body. Maybe like a Dofi into a Red Rock would be your best play. But even then, I have 3 good bodies on board that you cannot deal with. So yeah, there is the Gravity Blade, as I said earlier in the game, doing 2-3 drops to the bottom, but like, that is not the most impactful play. I have my 2 best bodies on board still, so we're definitely going to go for game next turn, as he's going to play the blocker as we assumed he would. ordering the top 5, however, not adding any cards to hand as he goes 5k lead. We're just going to take, assuming we're pretty much just going to win next turn, it really does not matter. So I think that's 5 cards in hand. We'll go 10k lead, rest on Foxy, and yeah, that is going to be the match. And that is going to be the video, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for watching again this week. If you are new to the channel, we do this locals every week with the leader that you guys vote in the community poll. Foxy, guys, honestly was fun to play. I'm not going to lie. I was maybe being a little bit harsh on the leader in the intro. Just because, you know, against certain decks, it is really difficult. Like that Perona game was a little rough. Like, it just doesn't make you want to play your Foxy Pirates out on the board early because you know they're just going to get either attacked into for free or like popped by a Ryuma. So there's definitely some hard matchups like that you definitely need a pretty extensive knowledge of this leader and matchups to, I think, be able to get the fullest extent out of. But like, if you're gonna put that much time into a leader, I don't really know Foxy's the one to do it for. But he is at least a fun leader to play for a locals now and again. So I will obviously have the deck link in the description if you guys just want to copy it into Sim or make it for yourself in real life and bring it to your own locals. But anyways, as for the poll currently right now, I think it is either going to be Dragon or Blue Yellow Ace. I'm not sure who was winning last time I checked, but look forward to either of those leaders. I will be playing Blue Yellow Ace if it decides to win. That is probably my second favorite deck this set, right behind Red Purple Luffy, which I'm really having a lot of fun with, but Blue Yellow Ace is right behind it. That is a really fun deck. But anyways, this has been Jim with Awakened TCG. You guys have a great day. I'm going to head out of here. Peace.